So what's our goal today? Our goal is to help you share with you some ways that you can build wealth with real estate. We've been in this business for almost 2 decades now. We've helped hundreds of people do that. And we're here to help you share some things that might help you as well and your family. Also, we're going to want to talk about how do you protect your wealth, right? And there's a number of ways we look at wealth and protecting it. And there's some things that you may want to consider. And the other is how do you transfer wealth? See, what happens over time is we start building wealth in our 30s and 40s and 50s. And as we get older, we start figuring out, well, we're not going to be here forever. And what's going to happen at the end, right? What's the plan to transfer wealth? Do we have a plan? Interestingly enough, I've asked that question to so many people. What's your real estate plan? And you know what? You know what's really odd about that? 0 people have a plan. Nobody's had a plan. No one said, here's my plan. It was just to build wealth. But there comes a time at the end that, I don't know if you know this, but 70% of families fight over real estate after their parents die. Why is that? Because it's in the trust. And we believe the trust keeps it safe. Well, it keeps it safe from probate. Why do we have so many families fighting? Because it doesn't keep you safe from your family. Here's what it says. For those of you, how many of you have a trust? Anybody have a trust? Awesome. I suggest you go back and read it because I'd like you to tell me what it says. Because at the end of the day, when you're gone, who gets what? That's your question to yourself, who gets what? And you know what the trust says? If you have more than one child, everybody shares it. How do you share real estate? You don't. You can't. It's impossible. And that's why we haven't thought that through. We think it's okay, where the attorneys tell it's okay to keep it there. But why are there so many fights? Because you can't divide real estate. Right? And lastly, it's really to inspire you to take action. There's a lot of information you can learn today that's going to be helpful for you, that maybe gets you thinking more about the future, thinking more about yourself and your family, thinking more about, what you can do with what you have. Because I truly believe that money is good for the good it does. So my question to you is, what good do you want it to do? You get to decide. I'm not here to be the judge of that. You are. My job is to ask you questions to help you self-discover your best journey in building, protecting, and transferring wealth. Okay? So what are the benefits of owning real estate? As you know, many of you know this, but it's the largest creator of wealth in America. Outside of owning a business, it's wealth built on the back of real estate. And many of you are examples of that. We've seen some of the data that you guys have, and yeah, you've built wealth. And it's built because you bought it a long time ago and this thing called appreciation showed up. And appreciation is a funny thing because there's no way to predict what the appreciation is. We only know after it passes us, right? But you're going to see some data today that will validate the fact that there is this thing called appreciation. Some years are better than others. Some properties are better than others. It's knowing which ones to look for and which ones to get and which ones to get out of if it's not appreciating, right? And then the other thing about real estate is you can actually take equity out of it, right? Let's say you buy it, over time you pay it off, and then one day you need some cash, you can actually pull equity out of it, okay? You don't have other assets you can pull equity out without selling it. This is an equity you can own, keep, and then pull equity out, right? The other thing is it allows you to get some tax deductions. It's the mortgage interest tax deduction. So people say, well, I never want debt. And I say, yeah, debt's a bad thing, except if you consider tax deductions. See, because as you build wealth, those of you who are still in the age where you're generating wealth, you're paying taxes. Well, how do you minimize those taxes? What are the ways to minimize your taxes? One of it is the interest expense deductions. Right? I'm not a CPA. I'm not a trust attorney. And I'm not a financial planner. I'm neither of any of these, nor do I play any on TV, okay? But my point is, I've spoken to so many of them, I've interviewed so many of them, everything that you're seeing today and every seminar that we had been filtered through these 3 people. And they all agree that the world needs this information because it's not commonly shared, right? The things that you're gonna see today are not something that a normal realtor will tell you. In fact, I travel the country. I have a community of over 550 members that pay every month to come to our training. 3 hours a week, I train them all over the country. And that community is going to grow to 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 over time. We've only started about a year ago. Why are they coming? because this is the only training that the real estate world is receiving in how to help people build, protect, and transfer wealth. There is no other training in the world like this. And that's why they're coming and joining us. So we're really, really proud to be able to do this. The other thing is it's the only asset that you have. There's this thing called a capital gains tax exemption, right? Every asset you own, if it's appreciated, stock, bond, or otherwise, all that appreciation, you're going to pay capital gains tax on. There's no way out on that. Only way out is you die, okay? But let's just say you didn't want to do that today. And what other option is? It's the capital gains tax exemption on a single family home, on your primary residence, I should say. And then lastly, if you're renting something, why are you paying somebody else's mortgage? Because that's really what you're doing when you're renting. You're paying off somebody else's debt. And you know, I heard a wise man say that there's a difference between the wealthy and the not wealthy. And the difference is the people who are wealthy, they earn interest. They earn interest. They make money off of others, right? They earn interest. But what others do, they pay interest. So you get to choose. Do you want to pay interest or do you want to earn interest? And this is the whole premise around building wealth. Your goal is to have your money work for you, not you work for your money, right? Passive income, allowing that to generate over time. Right? So in building wealth, for young people, we start with buying your own home. We say to people, if you want to start building wealth, the first thing I would do is buy a home, because you get a capital gain tax exemption when you sell it. You got interest expense deductions when you buy it, and you're going to allow to build wealth over time, and it houses you so you don't have to pay somebody else's rent, right? That's the first step. Because some people say, well, I'm going to rent and then I'm going to buy an investment property. And when you do the math, it makes no sense at all. Yeah. You may as well be paying yourself versus somebody else's mortgage, right? The next one is if you own a home, now you're looking at buying something else, which is something you don't live in, an investment property. How do you do that? What are the best ways to do that? Is measuring it mathematically. We do this thing called an asset performance test on every asset that we come in contact with. What that does is we measure the cash on cash return. And our goal is to increase that cash on cash return to maximize wealth, right? What is cash on cash return? Well, you know today in the bank, what is it? CDs are 5%, something like that, around there, right? No, 4%? Yeah, it's more down to 4, okay? Whatever it is, right? That you know the rate of return, right? But here's the funny thing. Most people, almost everybody that we meet, doesn't know the rate of return on their properties. It's inaccurate. In fact, when we ask them, what's your rate of return? They give us a number. When we do the math, for some reason, it doesn't match because we're missing expenses that we didn't think about, right? Missing things that we should be including as a reserve as you're starting to create this cash on cash return, right? Then we measure it and basically ask you, would you like to increase your income? If the answer is yes, we show you how to do it. We'll show you where yours is performing, and then we measure others, and we show you another way out, right? The other is this thing called depreciation. Now, depreciation is kind of the unseen value of owning real estate. And because nobody sees it, it's something that happens at the end of your tax period, right? And that means it offsets your income, so it reduces your taxes. Because remember, it's not what you make, it's what you keep that matters, right? The thing about the world is a lot of people think of all the people that they make money, but then you look at their net worth at the end of the year, they don't have much to show for it. Why? Well, because they haven't considered many of the items that they should. Right? And then the other is eliminating capital gains tax, minimizing or eliminating capital gain tax. And that's a capital gain tax is the #1 enemy to generational wealth. There is no other enemy as great as capital gain tax to generational wealth. Right? And so understanding what it is, understanding how to calculate it, understanding how to avoid it and defer it are really the greatest value we can bring to you all and all of our clients. We've saved millions of dollars from our clients' pocketbook and kept it in their family because we understand capital gains tax. We can teach you how to do that. And when we do these 1031 exchange seminars, we've done it for 19 years now. Now we do it every month. Almost every single time we do a 1031 exchange class, somebody says, I wish I met you sooner. You know why they said that? Because they sold a piece of property and then later on they found out there's this mystical thing called a capital gain tax that they ended up paying that their realtor didn't tell them about. That's one of our first questions we're going to ask you. When anybody comes to us and says, I'm thinking of selling my house, my first question to them is, do you understand what your capital gain tax liability is? And that's really what separates us from everybody else. See, realtors don't ask that question. Do you know why? Because it doesn't impact their commission. It doesn't impact their life. It has nothing to do with them. It's all on you. The reason we do that is because it matters to you. And if it matters to you, it matters to us. See, we have a saying that we're going to look out for your best interests before our own. That's what that looks like. We're going to have conversations around what matters to you that may not matter to us, but it matters to us because it matters to you. Right? Funny how that works. Okay, so here's what's happened since 1987. Blue lines, single-family homes, red lines, condominiums. Kind of mimics itself. Imagine in 87 and the median sale price of a single-family home is $168,000. In a matter of 64 years, it went up to $380,000. This is when the Japanese came in with suitcases of cash. They literally did that. And what happened after the peak? It took a bit of a slide. It didn't recover, and then it bottomed out here in 2000, late of 2000. And then we saw the greatest transition of wealth in this time period up until this last cycle. So here's a cycle. After the peak, it drops, levels off. But look how long it was from this peak to even make it equal to the last peak. What is that? 15 years. It took that long to get back to the next peak, right? After this peak. What happened from here to here? Huge appreciation. How long did that take? Not as long, but it took about 7 years. Real estate goes into 7 to 10 year cycles. Right? It's a cycle. It happens. Everything that goes up, what goes up causes the down. The down causes the up. Okay, they're interdependent upon each other. Can't have one without the other, right? But what happened then? From this time period, 2010, I think it was a low, it started creeping up, and then all of a sudden, boom, when the government said, let's just give money away. And who wants it? And so, yeah, everybody took it. Well, unfortunately, it caused a bit of a problem, right? It caused this thing called inflation. You know, this era here was the worst inflation we've had ever in the world. Most of it's because of real estate. Most of it's because of real estate, right? And so what does the government do? Well, they stop inflation. How do they stop inflation? By increasing the cost of borrowing the money, the interest rates. They got to put a downward pressure on pricing. So how do they do that? They put a higher interest rate so it costs more money to buy. And that's what's happened. And they thought they'd be okay this year. They're not done yet. They're not done yet. They thought that they would have a rate. They thought in the early part of this year, in late January, February, the government said that they expect 4 price decreases, adjustments this year. You know, 1 possible. We don't expect to get out of this world for another 12 to 18 months. We probably won't see the difference until 2026. It's going to take that long to rebound. Well, again, keep in mind, look at what cycles have told you. Look how long the bottoms were. And look what happened after every time it hit the peak. These are cycles, ladies and gentlemen. If you're thinking of selling, time's actually not your friend. Because if you look at data, the data proves it. Now, the difference is in Hawaii, in single-family homes, because the supply is so low, we're actually seeing it trickling still up. On condos, it's inverse. It's just the opposite. Because condos, I don't know if you guys know this, we're having a major insurance issue in our state and in our country. I don't know if you know this, but more than 50% of all condos cannot get insurance. If you can't get insurance, what happens? That means you got to sell it to a cash buyer, which takes this market down to this market. And this market has cash, which means they're wielding the cash around like a sword and they're going to cut your price down. Condo prices are going to drop. They already started to, and we see it, we feel it. There's less buyers out there for it. On the other hand, single family homes, they're really strong now, right? What was the last one we did? The single family home, we got the Manoa one? Manoa. How much? $200,000 over the asking price. Crazy. How many offers do we get? Like 8? 12? I can't even keep track. Yeah, see, that's supply and demand. So if you're in a good market that's highly desirable, prices are strong, right? Really strong. If you're in markets that aren't, condos that aren't, it's going to be a little weak. It'll take a while to sell. Yeah, condos are a lot longer on the market. So that's kind of the view of the market that we see. We have a lot of listings. We'll sell over 100 homes a year. This month alone, what is this? Going to be June. June, we're going to bring on 7 new listings. 6 new listings in the month of June, right? That shows you the activity. This chart shows you, we call this the compounding value chart. And the reason we show this to young folks is there's so many people that say to us, I'm not going to buy now, the interest rates are too high, right? I'm just going to wait a while. I'm going to wait until the interest rates come down, right? We actually heard a staggering term the other day when one of our clients says, my son's in the Bay Area, he has a good job, but he's not buying a home. And he and his friends are in this group called, what do they call them? The serial renter. The serial renter. Like, what the heck is that? Who would claim to want to rent for the rest of their life? That's an idiotic idea to me. If you're thinking of building wealth, that's an idiotic idea. Because what are you doing? You're paying somebody else's rent. This chart shows you the example. So 2 sides, one renting and one buying. They're in the same building. This is 801 South Street. This is a real life example. Now, this was back when the interest rates were at 5.5%, okay? So it was a while ago. But they paid the same amount of money in rent as if they bought. The guy who's renting and the guy who bought are paying the same amount every single month. Every single month, paying the same amount of money. The guy who's renting, though, in 30 years, what does he own? He owns nothing. The guy who bought got a gift from grandma because grandma did a partial 1031 exchange because she had extra money left. He gave this guy $100,000. That's it, $100,000. Paid the same amount of money. 30 years later, this guy now owns $1.621 million. So my question is, which side do you want to be on? This is a chart that's very clear for people because it considers paying down the mortgage. It also considers appreciation, right? That's why the math shows up this way, because there is this thing called appreciation. And because over time, you're going to pay off that debt, right? Or you can pay somebody else's mortgage. It's up to you, right? But we designed this because a family had a child that said that. After we showed it to him, he said, maybe I think I should buy. I said, great idea. I would support that idea because the math doesn't lie. This is not made up. These are true mathematical numbers. So we use that to share with folks. And when you talk about building wealth, that's a good example of it. So there's 5 ways to build wealth with investment properties. And there's things that we look at to make sure we're doing that. Number 1 is the cash on cash return. That's one of the most important things you have to measure. If I put my money here, how much money is coming out of it? Right? Just like you know what your bank account, you know what your interest rates are, you know all of these things, right? But we don't measure real estate for some reason that way. Funny. We think of it as, oh, but I got Johnny, he's my tenant, everything's good. Or it's rented. Or I got income. Or there's appreciation, but we never really look at the detail. But when we do, I can prove to you that there's ways we can help you make more money. I can prove to you mathematically. So the cash on cash return is number 1 all the time. If you put $1 million someplace, how much money is that going to give you every month, every year? That's cash on cash return. Okay. Now appreciation, obviously, over time, that will work. Interestingly enough, though, on this island, you think it all appreciates? That's not true. Unfortunately, we went in a short period of time in certain areas. We went to a guy's house today. It was a condo. What is it? Colonnade on the Greens. Yeah, up in IEM. He bought that 3 years ago, right? 4 years ago? 2 years ago? He got relocated. He wants to sell it. Well, he's going to have to pay $38,000 just to sell it. He bought it in a VA loan. No down. Got to live there, right? But the values didn't go up. Values actually went down. Why did it go down? The maintenance fees went up. And that's why you really want to take a look at those condos, because the maintenance fee is your hidden enemy that's going to come up and creep you and bite you in the butt. Yeah. And so when we look at condos, we put price and maintenance fee right next to each other because those are the two most important variables. I don't care how pretty the thing is, it's the math behind it, right? Because those are the most important things for you, the price and the maintenance fee, right? And then, so we look at also depreciation from folks that have had their home for a while or in the investment property for a while. Keep in mind, after 27.5 years, you have no depreciation. What that tells you is that you're paying 20% more money to the government than you need to. You're only getting 80 cents on the dollar versus $1, just because of depreciation that you didn't have because you didn't pay attention to it and it expired. You have none left. And so imagine every day you getting 80 cents versus the $1 that you desire. Yeah, that's kind of messed up. So we keep that in mind. That's the silent enemy, right? And then leverage. Leverage is one of those things that you can borrow on this asset that you can't borrow on your other assets that you have, right? Bitcoin, hard to, can you borrow on Bitcoin? Maybe you can. I don't even know about Bitcoin. I have some, but I don't think you can, right? You can't borrow on other assets that you own, but guess what? Real estate, you can. You can borrow on that. You can borrow it short term, right? You can borrow on that after you own it or even as you're buying. And then it's this thing called a 1031 exchange. It's the real estate's the only asset that you can actually eliminate your capital gains tax, defer it while you're alive so that it keeps it in your family. Because if you sold gold, stocks, bonds, or other assets, you got capital gain tax from dollar number one. Your home, you get $500,000 tax-free, $500,000 tax-free. Right? So with a 1031 exchange, everything beyond that, there's ways to create tax-free environment as well. How many of you have a home that has greater assets appreciation greater than 500,000? Many of us probably do, right? Yeah. It's common. Anything in town, it's going to appreciate. And so what most people say is, well, you know, I only get 500,000 free. I got $1 million of gain. I don't want to sell it. Later today, I'm going to show you there's two ways you can do this. I'm going to show you how that's done. And this example I'm going to show you later today, I don't know anybody else that will show you this. Again, my point is, it's not what you make, it's what you keep that matters. Right? So how do you protect it? Number one, we'll talk about the physical property after this. I wanted to go into really protecting wealth from taxes and disputes. Now, I truly believe, it's my belief that wealth comes in more than just money. Wealth comes in health. Wealth comes in family relationships, marriages, right? Wealth is more than just money. Spiritual life, right? It's more than just money. And if you subscribe to that, then you're going to start thinking about other people besides money. And that's my belief system. So the first thing that we want to do is make sure it never goes to probate. Now, if you have an asset that you bought and is not in any trust, and if you die, do you know what happens? It's going to go to probate. It could take months on end to solve it. It could cost tens of thousands of dollars to do it. Tons of time and stress on the person you love the most. Because the personal representative will likely be that person, the one you love the most. And you've put them in a position of burden, and you're dead. And they're going to have to deal with that. There's a very notorious case, I really can't tell you what the name is, that is in the state of Hawaii. It is one of the longest standing probate cases, one of the wealthiest developers here in our state. It's been, I think, 23 years now, been in probate. You know why? Because there's heirs that came in or contesting it. The minute heirs come in and contest it, you have a contested probate, you've now extended the stress and burden on your entire family until that's resolved. And that one, I know the attorney that's in charge of that, he says it probably will never get solved in his lifetime. Isn't that sad? You build wealth all your life and find out that your kids get nothing because you didn't protect it. So protecting it means making sure it's in the trust. Every asset you own is in the trust. It's labeled. It's funded, meaning it has the name of the trust in it. Okay? If it has your name on it, there's likely it's going to go to probate. Right? The other is we protect you from capital gains tax. Right? Capital gains tax is really because of gain, and many of you have that. Right? And many people don't consider it. But that's why we make sure we measure it for you and we share that with you. And your first piece of homework when you work with us is talk to your CPA and ask your CPA, have your CPA tell you what your capital gain tax liability is, because he's the guy that knows it. Now, we can do a napkin test for you to give you a rough idea, but we're not filing your taxes for you, right? So we don't expect that to be an accurate number. We're going to give you a rough idea, right? But your CPA is the guy that helps you do that, or girl. The other is estate tax. When you start building wealth, you're going to find that over a certain limit, there's a big penalty for it. And I'm going to show you that in a second. Lastly is the health of the family disputes. Anytime you have more than one child, there's a chance of that happening. And here's my test for you. If you have more than one child, here's some questions you may want to ask yourself. Are all your kids alike? Do they think alike? Do they act alike? Are they in the same economic phase of life? If the answer is no to any of those questions, when you're dead, they're going to battle over that real estate because your trust doesn't say when they have to sell it. That's the biggest problem. It's just trust says you share it. It doesn't say when. There's only one attorney in town that actually puts a date on that. And I've never seen his trust document come past my office. Yeah. I look at hundreds of trust documents. Trust me. Over the years, thousands. I read them all. And I know what they say. And that's where the problems have. How do I know this too? A lot of our clients are the trust attorneys. They're the ones telling me this. And the one guy in town there's only one guy that I didn't know of, his name is Stephen Yim. He actually puts a time frame by which everything has to be liquidated. There's never a fight in any of his cases. That's why his never show up in my desk, because they don't have a fight. Right? So things to consider. Protecting your family from each other, protecting your family from not having a plan, protecting your family from taxes, and also protecting the physical property. Because remember what happened, do you know how many, there's over 1,000 vacant homes on this island. Can you believe that? Do you know why that is? Somebody died and their kids haven't agreed to do what to do. They don't know what to do. There was no plan. Funny how that works. When I ask people if there's a plan, there's no plan. That's why you have so many vacant homes. But if it is vacant, what you want to do is make sure you maintain the property and the insurance. Because usually what happens is that's the first thing to let go of. It's an expense. And unfortunately, you know the Lahaina thing? Most of those people didn't have insurance. Because it's old Hawaiiana families. They paid off the debt decades ago. They needed to save money because they're scrimping because life's tough. And now they have dirt that's not worth anything. It's horribly disastrous. Those who had insurance, their insurance companies are pulling out. They're making it hard for them to get it, right? And that's why it's even harder today in the insurance industry. But I would strongly recommend keeping your insurance if you have it. The other thing is just keep up the maintenance and repairs. What often happens is mom and dad pass away, the house is vacant. Over the years, nobody paints it. What happens if you don't have paint? Well, believe it or not, paint's a very simple thing, but it's probably one of your best protectors. Because what paint is a sealant over the wood and the concrete. The minute your paint cracks, water goes inside of it, it's going to create wood rot if it's wood, or if it's concrete, you're going to create spalling. And that's why those buildings you see in town that are really beat up, they're in a lot of problem right now. Why? Because you can't just paint it. You actually have to grind the concrete down, get to the rebar. You know what spalling is? Spalling is, in concrete, there's rebar inside of that. And it's okay until water gets to it. When water gets to it, it rusts. When it rusts, it expands and it cracks. What it does is it cracks the concrete. When it cracks the concrete, then water gets in further. Now things start to fall apart. Right? That's why buildings fall apart. Well, if you don't protect your home, there's a good chance that that's going to happen. Right? Securing the perimeter, making sure you've got motion sensors and alarms on all the time, because this world is pretty nuts now. I don't know if anybody got Ring? The Ring? Yeah. Oh, it's amazing, but it's kind of scary to see all the stuff that goes on. You see the app next door? Don't even look at that. There's crime every single day, and the bad guy looks right in the camera. It's crazy. It's so bad, not as bad as California, but it's almost as bad as California. California, you can steal up to $1,000 and not go to jail, and it's okay. We're not far behind these people. It's unfortunate. I travel all over the country. Yeah, we live in a great place. Smoke detectors, make sure they're working if somebody's living there, because that's where people die. So did you know that, and I'm not sure what the age is, but I've been told that the fire department, if a senior calls the fire department and says my smoke detector doesn't work, they're actually going to come and put a new one in for you for free. Why? It's 20 bucks, and they know that could save them somebody's life. They actually do that, right? So take advantage of it. Lastly is secure anything that's vacant. Vacant properties are the worst. You don't ever want a vacant property, right? Today's world, homeless, right? The lack of security around that. But the other thing is your waste system, your plumbing, your water, and your waste line. The waste line has to keep moving. If it doesn't, it's going to dry up, and then you start running it. Or if you've got old galvanized piping, I can't tell you how many homes I've gone into. You got old galvanized piping. The minute you turn it on, it's all brown. Why? Because the rust inside the pipe has just got to each other. Right? So things to consider. We looked at millions of homes, really, and so we've seen what bad looks like. And if you want to protect the physical side of the property, here's some tips that you might help you. How do you protect from taxes and disputes? Number one, make sure you create a trust and you fund it. So not only is it creating a trust important, you got to transfer the assets into the trust. If it's not transferred into the trust, it's an unfunded trust, which means it's unprotected. Right? Don't expect the attorney to do that. That's not their job. It's funny though, you think it would. I paid them a lot of money. I just signed my agreement today. I'm writing another trust document. I spent $6,000. And this is phase one. Phase two cost me $500 an hour, right? Yeah, it's not a funny thing. It's real. So I know I have to sign this today. I was a little sensitive here, sorry. And understand capital gains tax liabilities and a way to defer it, right? When you use a 1031 exchange on an investment property, we're going to teach you how to eliminate capital gains tax. Eliminate it from your life, right? And then we're going to design a plan that works best for your family so that there's no family disputes, right? That's the goal. You know, when I ask people my age and older, at the end of the day, when you're gone, do you want your kids to love each other? The answer is always yes. And my next question is, what's your plan to make sure that happens? Nobody has a plan. I'm here to help you create that plan. Later today, you're going to have an opportunity to book some time with us to start the conversation to build a plan. Right? Some of our plans are 2, 4, 6 years long, right? So this is not for us, I tell people when I train in this around the country, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is a consultative approach to helping somebody build, protect, and transfer wealth. The way we measure it, your capital gains tax is fairly simple. You take your net selling price and you subtract your adjusted cost basis. It gives you your gain. And I'm not going to go over it all, but we have forms to help you show you how to do that. On the federal government side, you're up to 20%. And if your adjusted gross income is greater than $400,000 that year, let's add on another 3.8%. And at the state level, state of Hawaii is 7.25. We're number 2 in the country in the highest capital gains state tax. 2. California is 11.75. Okay. There are 9 states with 0 capital gain tax. Right? So it matters where the property is located. Right? And we have clients that have got properties, 15, 18 properties all over the country. Right? And so we have to know where they're located. We have to understand the tax implications if you choose to do something with it. Right? And this is where we start all of our conversations because this matters. And I got to tell you, I don't know another realtor that does that outside the people that we've trained. Okay, now let's just say you've got a couple of properties and over time you've gained some wealth. The federal tax exemption limit for this year is $13.61 million. The problem with that is any dollar above that, you're paying 18 to 40% to the government. Significant tax, right? The challenge with that is that's going to expire and sunset end of next year. And when it does, if it does, it'll go back to 5.6 million. We have a congressional challenge today because this law is going to sunset. And if you think of what the government's doing today, the government needs money. Where's the best way to take money? From people with gain. So if this goes back to 5.6 now, it's going to impact a lot more people. Imagine every dollar over 5.6 million, you're going to pay up to 40% tax on it. Well, you know what that means? If you have wealth in real estate, your family can't keep it because they don't have the cash to pay the tax. Either that or you put it in an irrevocable trust to shelter it. That's what some families do. You build an irrevocable trust, and every asset you put in there is sheltered from getting added to that 5.6 million or the 13.61, right? Or the other option is when you have wealth beyond that, then people are getting extreme levels of life insurance. Life insurance. Because when you die, remember your heirs are going to have to pay this tax. So the question is, how are they going to pay it? And are you ready? And are you preparing them for this moment in time? Is this moment in time, as I guarantee it's going to happen? Because I know we're all going to die. It's not a matter of if, it's when. So are we thinking about our heirs? Are we thinking about our families and what's going to happen 10, 20, 30 years from now? Also, keep in mind, the value of assets you have today isn't going down. Everything you own is going to go up. So what then happens in 5 or 10 years, 20 years? What does your wealth look like? Yeah. There's going to be a significant tax burden on your family that you've created, but you didn't create a plan to prevent it. Now at the state level, remember this is only federal, we didn't get to state yet. At the state level, it's 5.49 million, and now you're looking at 10 to 20% of that. We're, I think we're one of only, 9 states that have a state tax. We're one of a few. There was a bill on the docket this year. It didn't pass. It missed it by 1 vote. We're on a group that is supporting it because it matters, to eliminate it. We believe next year they could possibly eliminate it, and if they do, that's going to save a lot of people money. So we're on a mission to fight the law in the state of Hawaii to eliminate a state tax limits tax. Now you can give money away to reduce this. Also, keep in mind that's another plan you can consider. You can give away $18,000 per person this year. And you can give it away in any form you'd like. You can give it in cash, in stocks, in interest in your property, anything you want. So let's just say we have 3 children. Randy, is Randy here? Okay, good. He's not here. Okay, we have 3 boys. I'm just joking. And she and I can give away $18,000 per person. So $36,000 each. I can then get off almost $100,000 off of my estate tax every year. I could do that, right? Every year, right? And I didn't tell Julie this, but if we haven't done it yet, let's make sure we do it and then have the kids pay for their vacation. Why am I paying for the vacation? I'm giving you money, right? I keep forgetting to tell you that story. Anyways, yeah, right? I'm paying for their vacations all the time. Anyways. Okay, transferring wealth, the question is, you want your kids to love each other when you're gone. That's why this conversation is so important, because 70% are failing in this area. So what you want to do is make sure you've got clear instructions in a fully funded trust. Every asset that you own of value is in there. It's very clear in what happens upon your demise. There's a time frame by which it must be done, because if there's no time frame, by the way, that's the problem. The problem is not the trust. The problem is the time frame, because there's no set agreement that it must be done by this time. It just says you share it. It doesn't say when. So if one guy says now's not a good time, the other guy says I need my money, I deserve my money, you got to fight. It's got to happen. 70%. Odds are really against you, ladies and gentlemen. The other is you want to be mindful of the equity that's in there. I mean, the equity within your family, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're gone, the fight happens because one believes that the other one got more than they did. I was talking to a guy the other day. He had 3 kids. And he says, oh, I got 2 properties. One's $6 million, one's $1 million. And this guy's going to get the 6 and that one's going to get the 1. I kind of chuckled a little. I didn't try to be respectful. I go, tell me about that. Tell me about it. How's that going to work out? Oh, no, it doesn't matter. It's my decision. I get to choose. You absolutely get to choose. You 100% get to choose. My only question to you is, at the end of the day, do you want your kids to love each other? He says, of course I do. So let me turn it around. Let's just say you're one of the two, but you're the one with the 1 million and your brother gets the 6 million and your mom and dad just died. Now what are you thinking of your brother? That he screwed you, that he convinced mom and dad to make it unequal. He has no one else to blame. You're dead, right? That's the problem. And I have these conversations every day, and they're hard conversations, and nobody wants to hear them, but I'm just a fact of reality because I see it so much. And I'm on a national platform to keep families together. That's why we started this community. My entire mission is to keep families together, to remove the family dispute, keep the money in the family so none of that ever happens. I want to change the data from 70% of families fighting to 7%. And we're going to do this with training other realtors that goes out and trains people like you, right? Because nobody else is doing this. Nobody else is having these tough conversations, right? The other is you want to educate your trustees. We do a class called I'm a Trustee, Now What? If you haven't been to it, if you've got trustees, bring them. I'll teach them. This is important. If you care about your kids, I got to tell you, nobody else in the world is training your kids. Nobody else in the world is teaching the kids what they're going to need to do. And we do it for free. No one, did anybody pay to come in today? No. And no one's going to be asked to sign anything either. It's because we care. Because we know we can make a difference. And if you allow us to, we can help you. Yeah. And then communicate with the beneficiaries. Be absolutely clear with your kids, with your heirs, what your intentions are. Because that's where most of the families fight. So my question is, what's your plan? When you're gone, what does it look like? Remember, there won't be a day that you're not on this planet. And there will be a day that somebody else has got to pick up everything that you built. And they got to figure out how to disperse it for the people that you love the most. Is it easy? Is it hard? You get to choose. But I tell you, this is the best time to plan it, because after you're gone, you can't plan it. You're done. Your revocable trust becomes irrevocable when you die. It can never be changed. Know that. And so at that time, as my mom would say, poho, you're done. No sense, right? So transferring wealth, what are your options? You can transfer it to a family member upon death. That's the ideal scenario. Keep it in your trust. But it says upon your demise, it goes to Johnny, right? This asset goes to Johnny. Very simple, right? That's the best way to do it. Transfer it. You get a step up in cost basis, no capital gain tax. If it's done at death. If you transfer it while you're alive, you're getting what they call a carryover in cost basis, which means you're requiring your kids to pay all the gain, the tax on that when they want to sell it. You've just created a burden. But many people who do it, they don't even know. They have no idea. You could donate it. Some people say, well, my kids got enough. I don't need it, or I don't have kids. I just want to donate. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah. If you did that, though, you may want to do it maybe a little bit smarter. And there's this thing called a charitable remainder trust. And what that does is, if you had an asset that you didn't want anymore, you can actually donate it to a charitable remainder trust. We're realtors for the University of Hawaii Foundation. So when people donate properties to the trust, they call me, right? Because we help them sell it. What it does is, let's just say, Dennis, you had $1 million property, you didn't want it anymore. You gave it to the University of Hawaii because, hey man, you went there and you're proud, right? You're grateful. So you donate it to them. They're going to actually transfer it from your name to the University of Hawaii's name, and they're going to sell it. When they sell it, what they're going to do is take that money, they're going to put it in an asset that's going to generate you about 5% of the cash every single month. $50,000 a year you show up in your bank account, right? It's not yours, it's theirs, but they've agreed, and there's no capital gain tax, right? So you can sell this huge property with no capital gain tax. You have income, you don't have the burden of the property. When you're gone, you can designate where the money goes to, right? And your heirs can keep it for the next 90 days upon your death, right? You can, the funds have to go to the designation of your choice after the 90 days. And I think this is like a transfer period that I've told. I'm not the attorney, but this is information that I've told. Did I say anything wrong there? Okay. So what's the mindset and strategies and the options of building, protecting, and transferring wealth? You got two routes to go. One, you got to figure out what you're going to do with your home. The other is your other properties, meaning your investment properties. Okay, so you got two paths that you got to consider. Number one, with your home. Your home is your choice. You get to decide how long you stay there. You get to decide what you're going to do with it. That's really up to you. So option one is do nothing and be reactive. And that person, what does reactive look like? They're going to stay there until bad shows up, then they can't stay there. They're in an accident, they're in a hospital. I had 3 clients that never saw their home again. One day, they never saw their home again. Why? They had stairs to get to their house, and they broke their hip, all of them broke their hip. Went to the doctor. Doctor said, you'll never walk again. They basically, at that point, knew they would never see their house again. That was a sad moment. When I get a phone call from one of our guys that comes to one of these seminars, because back then he said, I'm okay. And then finally I get a call and he's not okay. He's in the hospital. He said, Dan, can you come and help me? I said, what's going on? I said, yeah, I found out I broke my hip. I can't get to my house. Can you go help me? We had to go to his house, find his trust documents, all his credit card. We had to pay all his bills. We had to keep his life going because he had to have money to pay for that care, which is 10 grand a month. Yeah, it was a problem. We had to clear out his house and he never saw it again. He told me the things that he wanted and we gave it to him. We took it to him. We gave him 4 boxes of stuff that came out of his house he lived in about 65 years. That's a sad day for me. That's a reactive person. That's a person that all of a sudden they got to move because it wasn't part of their plan. Now the proactive person says, I know I'm going to get older. I know I'm going to have health concerns. I know I'm getting slower. I know my memory is going, I know my, for me, I can't see. I got my glasses in my pocket. Half time I can't remember where my glasses are. You know, this stuff becomes real though. You know, I'm 60 and I feel it. What happens when you're 70, 80, and 90? Then you get delusional that it doesn't exist. No, I'm serious. See, someone's here laughing. Because you know somebody like that, right? Your cousin. Or somebody near you. Right? We get like that. So my point is, you get to choose. Do you want to be proactive or reactive? It's your call. Because I've seen both. 20 years of doing this, I've seen both. I've seen people that are proactive. They do things on their terms. They do it when there's husband and wife. They can do this journey together. And it's really like the best last journey. Or you can do it alone after somebody dies. Imagine having to cover up and take care of your deceased partner of life for years and years by yourself. I've had to do that with clients physically in their home while they're pouring and crying, and I have to hug them every 10 minutes to help them understand that it's going to be okay. Where in their world it's not. And that's the reactive person. So good news is you get to choose. It's on you. I'm not saying what you got to do. I'm just saying that I would make a decision. Right. Which one do you want to be? The smooth road or the bumpy road? Now keep in mind, if you go the bumpy road, the challenge with that is the people that you love the most, you're going to impact the most because they're going to wear the burden of your decision because they're going to have to take care of you. They're going to have to do everything that you needed to do. They can't do. You're now making them do it. You're making them stop their life to do something to cover you. Keep that in mind because it happens and we see it over and over. So how do you know it's time to move? Well, if your home is too large, not that the kids are gone, maybe you have a 3, 4, or 5 bedroom home and it's just you and your spouse, right? Or if your home or yard's too much work to maintain, you get houses too big or the mango tree is too big. Anybody tired of cooking and cleaning? Julie, stop raising your hand. She's always the one that does that. She's actually a really good cook when she does. But anyways, that's a different story. Anyways, does your home have too many steps? Too many steps is 1. Or 2, it could be. You just never know, right? It could be, right? Are you living alone and concerned about security? That's the biggest challenge nowadays is this crime thing that's going on. bad guys they're all over the place. I live in a pretty decent area. There's homeless people all the time in my area. Yeah, it's sad. The last one is the hardest. Would you like to make your own decisions about where and when your next move will be? Or do you want to leave that up to somebody else? And so here's the best case scenario. Best case scenario is all of a sudden one day you realize you've left the stove on too much, you banged the car a few times, you forget your keys, you just get forgetful. And then one day your kids say, Mom and Dad, you can't stay home, you need to move. Because we got to stop calling the ambulance because you fall down too much. That was my mom. That was my mom. She fell down too many times. And as a family, we said, it's not safe. We can't live with you. And she went unwillingly. My dad wanted to go because he couldn't pick her up, right? So when the ambulance came, and then the ambulance guys and the police would say, when are you guys going to move? That's what they said. And that's why my mom finally gave in. So they moved to the plaza, and it was the best thing for them because my dad had a life now. My dad didn't have to be the caregiver all the time. He actually had a life. They went to Vegas every month. They enjoyed that. And then my mom got sick and she passed away. And about 5 months later, my dad lost his will to live. It's common. They had a great life. But what they did is they had a plan. And their plan was to liquidate everything. And they did. Not to the liking of my family. See, my dad had some other properties. We sold them, stuff on the mainland, which really weren't worth very much. More of a burden to sell than anything. But their house, they had lived in a long time, but they had more gain, right? And so my dad called me one day and he says, hey, Dan, I'm ready to sell the house. I said, well, before you do, you need to talk to your children because some of your children, I don't think they're going to agree with you. He said, I don't care what they do. This is my house. I said, okay. So I go to the house one day, my sister there, she's all pissed off at me. It's like, what the heck? I'm here because my dad, your dad, told me to come. So don't blame me. And it got a little bad. I mean, we're okay now, but it was a bad moment in time. But my first question to my dad was, Dad, do you understand your capital gain tax liability? And you know what he said? Yes. He's the only human being that knew the number. Now, my dad came to all of our seminars. And he'd sit outside, he'd greet everybody. He'd make like he wasn't paying attention. That bugger was paying attention. He had a plan. And he said, I'm going to sell it. I said, Dad, do you know what's expensive? Yeah, it's $88,000, he says. I said, wow, you know the number. That's pretty impressive. And he said, yeah, but I want to sell it. I said, okay, great. You know why he did that? He didn't want us fighting over it. He didn't want a decision to be made when that happens, who lives there. He didn't want that. So he did what he believed was important for his goal of keeping our family together. And it worked. And it worked. We all get together still. Yeah, we love each other still. It was Dad's decision, right? We don't have a problem. And we're a rare family. We're really a rare family. I'm the youngest of 6. There's 54 of us, right? So, regarding your home, your question is, where would you go if your home's not working for you? What if one day you just got sick? What if one day you hurt yourself? Where are you going to go? Start thinking of a plan. Don't ever think that you're Superman and it'll never happen to you, because that's a bad situation. You know, how much does it cost? What does life look like? Who can help me get there? These are all questions we can help you understand, because for the last almost 20 years, we've moved over 1,500 families doing this, right? So we understand how to do this, making the move easy, understanding where to go, understanding how much it costs, what does life look like, all these things. This is what we built our business on. So what are your options? Your living options. One option is do nothing. Not really the best option, but it is an option. You get to choose. You know, it's on you. Right? You can age in place with yourself or with loved ones. You know, many people are moving in with their kids. That can happen. If you're downsizing to a smaller house or condo, now these are the very highly proactive baby boomers that are saying that I know I'm going to get older. I know I'm going to need care. Frankly, this asset's too big for me. I want to downsize. I want to go to something smaller. I can lock it and travel. Right? And so they're enjoying life other places. Right? That's the proactive guy. Adult residential care homes, that's not something that anybody aspires to go to because that's when you're reacting and you need care. Right? You're going to somebody's house, there's 5 rooms there, you're one of 5, and everybody's in a bed or a wheelchair. Right? That's a reactive person. Right? That's where you'll go because it's cheaper that way. Right? The biggest one is retirement communities. That's when you're active, you can live an active lifestyle. You get, anybody been on a cruise ship? Anybody in cruise ship? You like that? Is that fun? Yeah. What was fun about it?
Everything's planned for you.
Everything's planned for you? Food?
Yeah.
Cleaning?
Bingo.
Bingo? It sounds like a retirement community without the icebergs and the gambling. Although the gambling, I don't know. I've seen guys, my dad was really big on, he would go down and play poker every single day. 3 o'clock, I gotta go. And he would go with his nickels, big bag of nickels, and so they did gamble. I guess there's a limit. But so what should you do with your home if you leave? Well, one, you can leave it vacant. That's the worst idea. It is an option, but that's the worst idea. The other is you can rent it. Now, if you rent it, we can show you what you're going to get out of it. We can help you with that. We have a rental company that we're partnered with. Yeah, we can help you with that if that's truly what you want to do. We're going to show you the math around it, and then you get to decide if it's a good idea. And most of the time it's not, but your call, right? Pass it on to a family member. Please don't do that if you like your family and you're alive. You want to do this when you're dead, okay? Because then you're going to require them to pay all the capital gain tax if you do that today. Right? Most just liquidate it, because you've got $500,000 tax-free. You move on and simplify life. One of the biggest things that I know people my age and older, and especially when you stop working, there's this word called freedom. Right? Freedom to do what you want, right? Freedom to not worry about money, about taxes, about tenants, about the stuff, about the house. You don't worry about anything. You just live life. And that's what we can do and help. So with your other properties, what do? Well, again, still an option to do nothing. Not the best one, but you could leave it vacant. That's not a good option either, but you could do it. Allow a loved one to live there. See, if you have more money than you can need, why not let somebody live there? There's no wrong in that. Keep it in your name. Don't transfer it to them. And when you die, say it that when I'm gone, it's going to be transferred to you, right? You could rent it. Some people will rent it. We had a guy that wanted to sell his mom's house, but his mom had about $1.5 million of gain. It was in Honolulu. And he comes to me and said, Dad, I want to sell my mom's house because she has to go to the care home and it's very expensive. I said, well, do you understand your capital gain tax? He goes, what's that? I said, well, your gain's at $1.5 million. 30% of that, that's $500,000. Are you okay giving the government $500,000? Well, I don't kind of like that one. Well, here's what I'd suggest you do. Now, keep in mind, they came to me to sell their home. What I told them to do is not sell it. I told them not to sell it. And here's why. I said, how old's mom? Mom's 93 years old. I said, how old was her parents when she died? About 95. So how long do you think she's going to be around? I said, 5 years tops. I said, okay, good. Does she have enough money to pay for her care for the next 5 to 10 years? I say, oh yeah, she's got way more than enough money. Okay, if you value that $500,000, we can help you fix it up and rent it. That's what we did. We fixed it up, we rented it, had income, paid for the care, and then later on when mom passes away, mom's still alive now, they're going to call us to sell it. And at that point, they get a step up in cost basis, 0 capital gain tax. I just put $500,000 back into that family's pocket because it wasn't about me. It was about them. And this is when we say we look out for our clients' best interests before our own. That's what it looks like. Because it's not about money for us. It's about what's the best decision for our clients. Right? And we can guide you to do that. You can use it as a second home. Most people don't. Right? You can do a 1031 exchange, which means sell it and buy something else and get more cash flow. A lot of people like that idea. Or they'll do a 1031 exchange where they're going to sell it and maybe bless a family member that would really desire to own real estate. You could do that as well. At the end, I'll show you how that works. So my first question to you is, what's causing you to keep it, right? Are you looking for cash flow? Are you looking for appreciation? Are you keeping it because it's an emotional decision, or are you keeping it because the family needs it? It's one of those that are going to come up, right? You get to decide what you want to do. And then what's going to happen when you're gone? Who's going to get what? And what's the ideal timing on that? Right? Because the problem is you can't divide real estate. And as long as you accept the fact that you can't divide real estate, you will make a plan. Right? So creating a real estate plan, what are your goals for your home? How does it fit your current needs and your future needs, right? Then where do you go? Do you have a plan for that? We help you with that. What do you do with your house? We can help you with that. Rent it or sell it? Your call. We can help you with both options, right? And then your investment properties, you want to measure them all and do what we call an asset performance test. You're going to want to have us meet you and explain that to you and show you the math. We're going to give you the spreadsheet. You can take it home and study it at your leisure. And then lastly is generational wealth building. And what kind of legacy do you want to leave? When you're gone, because there will be a day that we're gone, what do you want your kids, the people that you love, to remember? What kind of legacy what do you want them to say about you? About how smart you are? About how you've built wealth and protected it and transferred it? What do you want them to talk about? And we help people create that legacy. We help understand that there's things that you could do to benefit your family, and then transfer that wealth in a way that maximizes everything you've built over time and minimizes the tax burden. We do renovation and repairs. Just so that you know, if you've got something that needs work, this is the part that I love the most. We fix up homes. We flip homes. We do it for our clients. And I'm only halfway. You're kidding? Who put all these slides in here? Is that me? No kidding. It is only halfway. Jeez, I got to move fast. Anyways, if you have a property that you need help with, give us a call. I can help you. Yeah, it's fun for us. What's a 1031 exchange? It allows you to defer your capital gains tax when you buy a replacement property. Right. What you're doing is you're deferring your capital gain tax. We say it's swap until you drop. I didn't make the name up, but you're going to keep doing 1031 exchanges until you're not around. Then you got to step up in cost basis, right? You got to apply all the proceeds to the replacement property. The cool thing is you can buy multiple properties. You can sell one and buy multiple, or you can sell multiple to buy one. You can use it as a tool to diversify your portfolio or to consolidate your portfolio. What most people do when they're younger, they like to diversify. When we get older, we like to consolidate. We want to keep it simple for the transition of wealth, right? And that's what happens. We have clients that sold 18 properties in buckets of 3 and 5. And we just sold them and bought, right? And no capital gain tax, right? There's this thing called a Delaware statutory trust that allows you to remove the burden of owning your property and no capital gain tax, and gives you true passive income. Yeah, I'll talk briefly about that in a minute. And it's a fabulous estate planning tool. If you care about your heirs, you want to have a plan, right? So my first question is, do you need the income from your investment properties to sustain the life you desire? See, if you say yes to that question, then here are your options. Well, one is do nothing. That's not a good one. You could sell it and pay the capital gain tax. Probably not the best idea. You could sell it and buy another property via 1031 exchange. Now, what can you buy? You can buy a long-term rental. You can buy a short-term rental, which has greater cash-on-cash return. You can buy land to develop. Probably not the brightest idea. It's possible, though. You can buy commercial properties. Some people are into that, triple net. Some good deals out there. It's a little risky in some cases. You can buy a Delaware statutory trust, which will give you 4 to 5% net of all fees, cash-on-cash return. I got to tell you, that solution is probably one of the best solutions for older adults that don't want property, that don't want tax, that don't want a family dispute, and want more money. I own one. Julie and I bought one. When COVID happened, we sold our investment properties that we did 3 1031 exchanges on, had a lot of gain, didn't want to pay it. I was getting 2.1% return on my money, which is not good. I get 4.5% today. And I never got a phone call about anything going wrong. All I get is money in my bank. It's the easiest passive money you're going to get. Right? Now, if you never want to, so the downside with a DST is you're going to have to keep doing it every time they sell. If you never want to do a 1031 exchange, there's another tool called a 721 UPREIT that when you put it in there, you're locked and loaded for life. And it stays there until your kids pass, till you pass away, and your heirs get all the money tax-free in 90 days. Tax-free in 90 days. It's the fastest, easiest way to transfer the wealth, the 721 UPREIT. Yeah. So, but if the answer is no, do you need the income to sustain the life you desire? And they say, I don't need the money. I got enough money to enjoy my life for the rest of my life. Then your question is, like, what are you going to do with it? Who's going to get it? And if you could bless your kids today, would you? And what does that look like? So we do an analysis with you. We talk about your family. We talk about your properties. We help you self-discover a plan. Again, these are your plans. They're not our plans. We just show you what the options are. You get to choose, right? We're not here telling you what to do. All we're saying is, here's what you could do. Which one do you want to do? Because if you could bless your kids today, would you? If the answer is yes, this is the route you're going to go, right? So how do you prevent family disputes with the investment properties? Here's an example. Mom's a widow. She owns $1 million property for round numbers. She's got 4 kids, George, Lucy, Grant, and Ann. And she knows they're not alike. In fact, they don't even like each other. Yeah, it happens. It just happens sometimes, right? So she knows that she realized that her nieces and nephews, after her sister died, are fighting. They're still fighting today. And they haven't liquidated the assets yet. Because one says they want to sell, one doesn't. That's all it takes, right? So she says, I don't want this problem. So we say, well, if you want, we can help you with that. Here's how it works. We say, first we meet with mom and make sure she understands the plan. The second phase is we bring the family in, right? And it's a conversation. The conversation goes like this. And I steward this conversation, right? Mom wants to bless you today while she's alive. Ooh, big smiles all of a sudden. Everybody likes each other all of a sudden because everyone's happy. All life's good, right? And so what's that look like? Let's say, well, mom's going to sell $1 million property and we're going to do a 1031 exchange. Except in this 1031 exchange, you get to predetermine your inheritance up to a quarter of it, $250,000. You're not going to get the cash. You'll never touch the cash. What happens is this wealth that comes out of the investment property will be split up, and then you're going to give interest of $250,000 to buy anything you want. It stays in mom's name until she dies, and then it passes on to you. So George says, sweet, I'm in Vegas. That's all I need, $250. Let's go buy the house. I'm going to live there. Mom says, I don't need the money. Live there. There's a couple rules around this that makes it bulletproof to the IRS. And that is you're paying the income tax on the phantom rent that you never got. As long as the IRS gets tax money from you, they're happy. The minute they don't get tax money from you, it's a red flag. Right? And so if you want to prevent an audit, I say to people, there's 2 routes to go. You can eat well or you can sleep well. I like to sleep well. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of eating well. I'd rather sleep well. And so we have systems around this that bulletproofs your 1031 exchange. We've been doing it for years. Lucy says, well, you know, 250 is not enough. I want to live in Mililani and I need $1 million. So that's a great down payment. Lucy doesn't have a house. So mom blesses her with a down payment that she could never have bought the house. She can qualify. She just didn't have the down payment. So now mom owns 25%, Lucy owns 75%. When mom dies, she gets it all, tax-free. This is how you eliminate capital gain tax. But you're not giving your kids money, you're giving them value in an asset that is in real estate. That's why it's tax-free. So at the end of the day, everybody gets 4 properties. When mom dies, they all get it tax-free. 0 capital gains tax. We eliminated all capital gain tax from their life. We allowed mom and dad to bless their kids while they're alive, to get the hug at Christmas saying, thank you, Grandma, thank you, Grandpa, for helping us buy our house that we could never buy without you. We're changing lives, ladies and gentlemen, and you can too. And I suggest you do it, and you start with the people you love the most, your family. Right? So if you have capital gains tax greater than $500,000, what do you do? This is your primary residence. You know you don't want to stay there, but you don't want to pay the capital gains tax. So guess what? You stay there because you don't have a solution, right? So there's two routes to this. Eliminating capital gain tax on a primary residence. This is only if you have two living spaces, upstairs and downstairs, a front and a back. If you have an ADU, the rule to this game is you cannot have an interior ingress and egress between the two. Meaning if you have an upstairs and downstairs, you can't get from upstairs to downstairs. You have to go its own private ingress and egress, number one. But let's say in a simple example, it's 50-50. You rent one, you live in one. Well, the Internal Revenue Code 121 allows you to take $250,000 as a couple living in it, $500,000 tax-free. Keep in mind, you got $1 million of gain here, okay? The other part was rented or vacant, then you use it as a 1031 exchange and you defer all your capital gain tax. You buy something else of equal or greater value to this 500,000, and now you have an investment property that's generating income for you. Most importantly, you preserved what, 30% of the $500,000. What's that, $130,000, something like that? Yeah. Because people think that, oh, 1031 exchanges is only for investment properties. Yes, and the government, if you can prove that you had this rented, I would actually have it rented, not vacant, but we've done one where that was vacant. It's never been audited. We create systems for you to eliminate capital gain tax. If money matters, we can help. Okay. So this is route one. This only works when you have two living spaces that are independent, right? Now let's just say there's one, and this is the example of the guy. Well, no, it's not. It's a different example, a different family. Guy comes to me and says, Dan, I want to sell the house. We get to this point, it's 2022. And I say, well, do you understand what your capital gain tax liability is? He says, no, what's that? So, well, let me help you with that. And in his case, I think it was like $300,000. It was a big gain of tax, okay? So he says, I just want to sell it. I want to be done. And I said, well, but what about this tax? Are you okay with that? He says, no. How do I get around it? You don't sell it today. What we do is you move out of it. We'll help you rent it. We sell it here. And when we sell it here, we do a 1031 exchange with the balance. Why is that legal? So the Internal Revenue Code 121 says you can take $500,000 if you lived in it 2 out of the last 5 years. So if we sell it here, 5 years is here. Did he live in it 2 out of the last 5 years? The answer is yes. Shake your head. Yeah. These 2 years, you lived there. Did he rent it for 2 years? Yep, he did that too. He didn't live there. You can actually use 2 tax codes in the Internal Revenue Code to eliminate capital gain tax. I just showed you 2 ways you can eliminate capital gain tax that you probably didn't know. Again, I get no benefit out of this. I don't make any more money doing this. In fact, in this route, I'm deferring and delaying my compensation for your benefit. When we say we look out for your best interest before our own, this is what it looks like. And if there's something you want to do, you want to book an appointment today, we can talk about creating plans. Remember, this plan is a long period plan. So again, let's say, take this plan further out. So they move out. During this time period, they're renting their house, which means they got to rent something else. They're not going to buy something. They take this money. Remember, they're downsizing, so they probably got more renting in rent than they're doing in paying the rent, right? So they have a little extra. And then when they sell it here, they're doing a 1031 exchange. They're buying something else that they can't live in for 2 years. But in 2 years and a day, they can move into it. They can change their intent. It was an investment property that you can tell the government, I bought it as an investment property. I've proven to you it's an investment property. I paid you tax on it for 2 years and then some, and I've changed my intent. I'm moving in. That becomes your forever home. And then you take another $500,000 at 5 years later. Yeah. We can keep money in your family. We can keep money in your family if you choose to. But these are 2 ways that we've been showing people. 6-year plan. That's a 6-year plan. Okay. So while most realtors want that money today, we're not getting our money today. Why? Because it's better for you. It's better for you. Right. So what is a real estate planner? It's a person who, real estate planner is an advisor who specializes in helping families build, protect, and transfer wealth in real estate. Right. And we understand your goals, your financial goals and your needs, and we recommend solutions based on what's in alignment with your goals. And so we ask a lot of questions to find out what matters to you. We bring you solutions that could match that. You get to pick which one you want to use. Right? And then we collaborate with your financial planner, your trust attorney, your CPA. You want to have a holistic approach to wealth. And the problem is there's no real estate planner in most people's lives. So they're off balance. They got a financial planner, right, that says, yes, all this liquid assets, but when you ask them about real estate, they're not going to know what to do, right? You talk to your CPA, I know what the CPA is going to tell you, don't sell it because there's this thing called capital gain tax, right? So they're going to make you handcuffed to your property for the rest of your life because it's a bad thing for them. And by the way, a lot of CPAs, they don't like 1031 exchanges because it's complicated in their world. I'm not in their world, so I don't know what that looks like, right? And your trust attorney, we need him because if we're going to create these plans, we're going to have to change the trust, right? And so we need to know who they are because we need to have a conversation with them to make sure you're protected, right? We're not going to do things in a silo. We're going to bring everybody together and wrap your arms around you and say, this is how you build, protect, and transfer wealth from all of the people that you trust, right? And we're all on the same page. Then you have a plan that's bulletproof, that'll get you to your goal to make sure your family never fights and keep the most amount of money in your pocket. So we do these things called strategy sessions. There are 60-minute times where we get together with our clients. Today, you're going to have a chance to book some time there. And really what we do is we spend a lot of time asking questions. We don't talk much. You're going to talk most of it because most of the time we're going to ask you questions to find out what matters to you, right? We're going to do a property analysis. We look at every single property that you own. Doesn't matter where it's located in the world. We'll measure it and we'll give you an asset performance test for you so you can be very clear objectively how your cash on cash return is. You get to decide if that's good or bad. And then we want to understand your concerns and your challenges. Your health today, your family tomorrow, the needs of your family. We want to know that. We want to make sure you are clear about the impact of capital gains taxes and then really understand your family situation, right? Concerns, needs. We talk about your kids. Who's the oldest? What's his name? Is he married? Does he have kids? Does he own his own property? Does he have investment properties? And we're going to dial down deep into each of these situations so that you're going to find gaps in your plan and idea, and maybe we can help you fill them, right? And then we're going to help you build a financial freedom so that you don't have to worry. We've had clients that we helped them get to retirement because of a financial plan. We help people prevent their family disputes. We help people make more money. We just help them have freedom. And that's our big goal, that you have financial freedom. And that you know at the end of the day, when you take your last breath, you know that your family will continue to love each other because you have a plan that will prove that it will work. We're going to share you some options and some solutions and you get to decide. You don't have to do things today. You don't have to do it tomorrow. We're not here to tell you when you're going to do it, but we're going to show you some data that supports your decision. Yeah. So the ultimate real estate plan helps families peek into the future. And that's one of the first things we do is we want you to look forward. Most people, when they look at things, they look into the past. Here's what I've done. Well, what your past isn't going to help you create the future. You need to plan the future. And so we ask you questions about your future, about your family and your health, your finances, right? So that we can help you build, protect, and transfer wealth, because where we remove the burden of owning real estate, we eliminate capital gains taxes, and we prevent the family disputes, because you can be the architect of your own plan to create generational wealth. And I encourage you, we'd like to empower you to do that. And today you'll have an opportunity to book some time to do that if you'd like. Okay. That's all we have. We just talked about the strategy session. As you'll see on the bottom, it says strategy sessions are typically $500. And that's only if You know you have a realtor that you're going to use. If you know you're going to have a realtor you're going to use, I just need you to be honest with me, because frankly, we don't make money on any of the things that we've done today. Of all these strategy sessions, we don't make money until we sell real estate. Okay, there's no upfront cost to us, except if you know you're going to use somebody else. Yes, my time is valuable, and yes, you'll pay $500, and yes, you'll make 500x of that based on the plan that we create for you. Right? But you get to decide. Right? Now, what questions do you have? I know you must have some questions. This is where we can learn from each other. Questions? Yeah, Ronnie.
So I think you mentioned about, when you have concrete, that when water gets in, something
Spalling. Yeah, it creates spalling.
What if it's not concrete, but the other one?
Stucco?
Yeah.
Yeah, stucco. The thing is, behind stucco, there's a moisture barrier. Behind that's typically wood or drywall, right? So you want to make sure it's sealed. Just know that yes, stucco can crack.
Yeah.
You want to patch the stucco so water doesn't get behind it.
And once it does, water
It's just gonna it'll get worse. It'll never get better.
it'll just get worse.
It'll get worse. Yeah, over time. Yeah, over time, it'll get worse. Yeah, right.
You said the condo, yeah, I heard the condo insurance is going out of cycle. Why is it also affecting the single family homes?
Because what they're saying is, so why is the insurance thing on condos and not homes? It's a fair question, right? But what I understand, because I'm not an insurance guy, but what I understand is, I don't know, remember the day there was the building in Florida that collapsed, right? Because they didn't paint it, and then concrete shrinks, and the thing just fell. And so they're worried about that. And so what they've done is they say that's the highest liability. Because if it goes down, that's a lot of money that the insurance company is not going to want to pay. So they're removing that risk because of they spent $5.2 billion just on Lahaina. $5.2 billion. And this is just the beginning, right? And so all that money, where's it come from? These insurance companies. So some of them are saying, I'm tapping out. I don't want to be in this market. Right? And we see that in California, the fires, the floods, right? We see that in Florida. We have many, I do real estate all over the country, and yeah, there's markets where you can't get insurance. Yeah, it's a real thing. Now there's also a thing called, what is it called? Wooded? Not wooded. Framed. Yeah. Any townhouse that has wood frame, some of them can't get insurance. And the one that blew me away was, what was the name of the one in Kapolei? It was not that old, like 5 years old. You can't get insurance on that thing. Like, I don't understand it. I really don't. But so many of them are having trouble today. So when we help buyers buy, the first thing we do is find out if that thing can get insurance. Because I don't want you putting in an offer into something that you can't get insurance on. Because if you can't get insurance, you can't get a loan. Right.
So you're saying wood frame structure like townhouses, because
Yeah.
most of them in the leeward side.
Well, every townhouse that I know of is wood. That's crazy. And here's the thing, it's starting to hit single family homes. Like if your roof is, was it 20 years? 20 years? If your roof is older, so then the insurance guy is going to ask you how old your roof is. If it's greater than 20 years, you're going to have it inspected. And if you find it to be failing, you're going to have to fix it. We couldn't get, well, we're building a house now, but our old house was really old. Our oven was in the Smithsonian Institute. It's that old, 1952. But the roof was so bad, we couldn't get insurance. So we had to redo the roof before we tore it down. We didn't spend much money.
Yeah, it is starting to impact single-family homes now.
Yeah.
It's starting to trickle to single-family. And they're even talking about it's not just the property, it's the person. So they're looking to see if you as a person filed the insurance claim, and if you have, they may not renew your insurance.
So keep in mind, if anything goes wrong in your house, you got to be mindful if it's worth filing a claim. If you file a claim for $3,000, you'll never get insurance again. That's horrible. So basically, insurance has become catastrophic insurance. This is not everyday insurance. This is like, and so in my world, I'm saying increase my deductible because I ain't using it anyways until it's catastrophic because I want to bring my premium down. So you want to talk to your insurance providers and really start asking questions because this is a big change in our industry that the government knows about it. And they were actually going to plan to having a special session on it. Didn't happen. Nothing's being done. The government's going to have to step in. This is, yeah, nationwide. But each state will have to create an environment to protect people. Yeah, it's going to change the landscape of real estate, for sure. Yeah, it will. And these natural disasters, I only saw the hurricanes and tornadoes that went through, Midwest. All these homes that are gone. Yeah, it's a challenge. So anyways, things to consider. Oh, the only thing we ask for you is the feedback sheet. Julie's holding it up. It's in your file. If you don't, please do us a favor, spend a few minutes, fill that out. The guys are here if you want to spend some time with us. I travel every month. Julie and I were gone half of our life traveling and training. So between now and August, I think there's a handful of times we can meet, and they have those times. So if you're interested to sit and talk about creating a real estate plan, what it could look like, reach out to these guys, and we can get you on the schedule.